Past, Now, Read presents another entry in our anthology of stories that need to be told. The Shadow, Ledger of Lies. Enjoy. Note: this narrative is a work of fiction, inspired by real-world events involving cryptocurrency crimes. It aims to shed light on the complexities of digital security and the human stories entwined within. The Shadow, Ledger of Lies. Prologue. I am the Shadow. They thought I died in that fire, burned alive in a city records warehouse no one would miss. I let them believe that. Truth is, what burned that night wasn't me. It was who I used to be. Before the flames, I was flesh, blood, mortgage balances, and a name that fit neatly on a payroll stub. Now, I'm something else. A presence. A shadow. A consequence waiting to happen. I move through a world divided by light and code. I've learned to slip through systems, firewalls, street corners, security patrols, blockchain ledgers. My fingers never touch a keyboard. I don't need to. The data speaks. The night whispers. And when it does, I listen. I don't sleep. I haunt. Somewhere between a ghost and a man is where I exist now. There's no redemption at the end of this road. No white picket fence waiting on the other side of vengeance. But there are people worth saving, if only from their own wealth, their own secrets. You won't see me. You won't thank me. But if you're lucky, I might see you before they do. Because they're coming. Not with guns and ski masks. Those are amateurs. The real thieves are silent. They speak in crypto keys and social engineering. They don't rob banks anymore. They rob families in the comfort of their own smart homes. Cold as a ledger wallet, efficient as death. This time, the blood isn't theoretical. The shadow is watching. Chapter 1. House of Glass. It started on a Thursday, just warm enough for the rich to open their windows, just quiet enough for evil to walk through the front door. Upper East Side, marble steps, a doorbell with Wi-Fi, and 1,000 eyes pretending not to see anything. The house belonged to a fintech investor named Avery Bryson. Mid-40s, hedge fund smirk, married a former runway model now turned bored philanthropist. And today, she was the reason I was perched 3 rooftops away, watching through a telephoto lens that could see guilt in a heartbeat. At 11:18 a.m., the glass doors slid open. 2 men entered. No masks. That's the new look. Confident. Crisp haircuts. Just another delivery crew if you blinked. But I don't blink. Inside, Avery's wife, Danielle, wore a pale pink robe in confusion, then fear. They moved fast. One took her arm. The other showed her a phone. Her husband's face on a loop, probably AI faked. Your husband's in danger. He needs you to unlock his wallets. Crypto, Danielle stammered, voice trembling. He doesn't tell me. Wrong answer. One of them pulled out a syringe. Empty threats? Or something worse? I didn't wait to find out. I triggered the bug I'd planted last night in the security cam, looped the feed, froze the screen. I whispered into the night, "You're not alone." She wouldn't hear me. Not with her ears. But she might feel it. The presence. That slow chill on the back of the neck that says someone's there, and they're not leaving. You see, crypto isn't just money. It's belief. A shared lie we all agreed to believe is worth something. Unlike a bank, there's no vault to blow open. Your Bitcoin lives in the void, on a blockchain, accessed by private keys, a 12-word passphrase. Lose it and it's gone forever. Crack it and it's all yours. Clean. Untouchable. These guys weren't hackers. They were wrenchmen. They'd figured out what so many haven't. The fastest way to steal digital assets is to threaten someone's analog life. The husband walked in at 11:31 a.m. I could see him coming down the drive. Jogger, fit, dumb enough not to check his surroundings. He saw the door ajar, saw the shadow in his hallway. By then, I was already moving. Dropped down the back wall, shattered the keypad lock with a silent charge, and stepped into a world gone cold. Gunfire. 2 shots, then 3. Danielle screamed. I reached the top of the stairs in time to see the husband bleeding from his arm, wrestling one of the intruders into the wall. The other pointed a pistol at her head. I fired first, not from a gun, from the grid. I'd overloaded the smart lighting system, shorting it out and popping the breaker. The hallway plunged into black. My world. I took 3 steps forward and caught him mid-breath. Knocked the weapon from his hand. Cracked his nose across the marble floor. Blood pooled next to his Rolex. The other one ran. Cowards always do. Danielle cried. The husband bled. I stood in their hallway just long enough to make sure the police would have a story to tell. Then I was gone. Later that night, I traced the wallet the thieves had connected to. It was a transfer hub, used only once. They'd sent the funds to a mixer, breaking it into dozens of smaller transactions, laundering it through DeFi platforms and peer-to-peer swaps. Untraceable in hours. The perfect crime. If I hadn't tagged the signal with my own phantom code. They were part of something bigger. The same network that tortured that Italian tech kid last month. The same crew that hit a streamer in Miami. Same MO. Threaten the people who love you until crypto coughs up its soul. But I'm not after the foot soldiers. I want the one behind the screen. They call him the architect. And he's already building the next lie. Chapter 2. The Ledger Syndicate. The thing about ghosts is they don't leave footprints. They glide. They whisper. They pass through locked doors and encrypted ledgers. But sometimes, if you listen close enough, you catch the hum. I found the hum buried inside a mixer, a digital laundering tool that breaks apart cryptocurrency transactions into thousands of indistinct threads. Think of it like blood through a paper shredder. But the shadow has tricks of his own. My code runs off intuition and heat, scraping metadata, correlating wallet behavior, digital scent trails most analysts miss. I picked up something subtle in the pattern. The funds split into 93 micropayments, but all of them paused, momentarily, on a ledger node registered to an offshore network. Montenegro. Too precise. Too clean. Too fast. That was the whisper. And it led me to the ledger. They don't exist on paper. No founding members. No office. No building with their name engraved in stone. Just a decentralized syndicate that functions like an invisible DAO, distributed autonomous organization, run by silence, code, and leverage. They specialize in wrench jobs, digital kidnapping, high-yield extortion, If you're a crypto millionaire, they know who you are. They know your seed phrase history, your security questions, your wife's maiden name, your kid's birthday. They don't need to crack your wallet. They just need to know who you love. Then they squeeze. I first heard the name Ledger from a scream. 3 months ago, I intercepted a police report flagged to a private server in Milan. A man named Michael Cartoran, Italian crypto investor, had been abducted in Soho, held for 17 days, electrocuted, fed like a stray, forced to give up $3.2 million in Bitcoin. He escaped by breaking his own thumb. When the NYPD finally picked him up, he was barefoot and bleeding on the West Side Highway, speaking half English and full trauma. I saw the architect, he kept repeating. The architect of pain. They thought he was delusional. I knew better. Because I'd heard the same phrase from a streamer in Miami. Another victim. She was held at gunpoint in her home. Her crypto drained, and left with nothing but the echo of that same word. Architect. Michael had a sister, Adriana. Used to work in the Italian Cyber Defense Corps before she got wise and came stateside. I tracked her down to a data lab in Flatiron. She wore steel-rimmed glasses and a hatred for weakness. When she spoke, it was like glass breaking. Michael never liked guns, never liked risk. And he thought Bitcoin would set him free. But it just made him a target. She passed me a flash drive. Encrypted, of course, but I know how to whisper to machines. Inside was a pattern, a scatter chart that tracked dozens of wallets from Michael's network, each one linked to a known DeFi platform. Flash loan exploitation, oracle manipulation, wash trading on unregulated exchanges. It wasn't just theft, it was system design. Michael was bait, she said. The real money's in the algorithm. Crypto, in its purest form, is trustless, decentralized, no central bank, no borders. Its value governed by math, not men. But men found a way in. They created synthetic tokens, fake assets that mimic real crypto and inflate value through hype. Then they crashed them, rug pulls, billions gone in seconds. No safety net, no FDIC, just zeros and silence. The ledger had been designing these crashes, triggering them with fake social sentiment, bots flooding forums with fear or hype, leveraging AI to monitor trades in real time and act faster than any human could. They called it Operation Phoenix, a burn and rebirth strategy. Collapse tokens, siphon funds, blame volatility, then re-emerge under new tokens and new chains, rise again. A perfect crime. And no one had a face. Until now. I traced the central node used in the Phoenix exploit to a relay system based in a server farm outside Podgorica, Montenegro. That's where they test their code. Off-grid, behind firewalls backed by mercenaries with encryption keys etched into their molars. I'd seen places like that before, but never one operated by an AI. They don't just hide behind tech. They are the tech. The ledger's algorithm is self-adaptive. It learns from every successful hack. It clones behavior. It reprograms itself. It's like fighting water. Just when you think you've contained it, it becomes steam. But I've been burned before. I remember what it smells like. I'm not afraid of fire. I called Maya. She answered after one ring, voice low, exhausted. You're calling me from a secure line, aren't you? I always do. I thought you were gone. I was. A pause. Then, so why now? Because they're after everyone like you. Anyone who built something with integrity. They're tearing it apart from the inside. And they've got a name now. The Ledger? No. Their leader. I waited. Let it hang in the air like smoke. They call him the Architect. Maya didn't speak for a long time. I could hear the static hum of her apartment's data walls, her breath, her heartbeat. Still steady, but slower than I remembered. I worked with someone who called himself that, years ago, during the Tether breach. I thought he was bluffing, just some darknet blowhard. Was he? I never saw his face, but he knew how to kill a network. That was all I needed to hear. The trail was hot, but so was the target. The Ledger wasn't just after whales and influencers now. They were after infrastructure, the very backbone of financial systems built on belief. And Maya, she was next. Chapter 3. Digital Ghosts. They say the internet forgets nothing. They're wrong. It forgets people, faces, love, pain. It forgets Maya Ree. But I didn't. She lived like a firewall now. High above Tribeca in a glass and steel husk, designed to reflect the world away. Her windows knew how to ghost drones. Her biometric lock recognized fear before it ever scanned a fingerprint. I didn't knock. I don't need to. I slipped through her signal first, followed the encrypted heartbeat of her server traffic like a bloodhound in the rain. Each keystroke a breadcrumb, each breath a shadow I knew by feel. She didn't see me. No one ever does. But when I crossed her threshold, the temperature in the room shifted. Fractional, but felt. Jasmine hung in the air, but so did that old charge. Recognition, like the way skin remembers touch long after it's healed. She paused. Her hands floated over her desk, like she was waiting for static to settle. She didn't speak, but I felt her unease flare, a ripple in the atmosphere. She reached toward the wall panel, then stopped. Her fingers trembled for less than a blink. She knew. Not that I was there, that something was. Maya once built the system that could have saved us all. An integrity protocol for decentralized finance. Something elegant, stable, meant to protect small investors from whales and flash crashes. But her framework got stolen, inverted, hollowed out and laced into the core of something monstrous. They call it Phoenix. And it breathes now with the help of the Ledger. I moved through her data field like a ghost walking beneath ripples of warm water. Her apartment ran on a pulse, monitors feeding everything from Berlin to Singapore. A wall of human suffering turned into metrics. Crypto liquidations, DeFi rug pulls, flash loan loops. It was all here. She didn't speak, but her breathing changed when a feed flickered. Live. A man in Berlin, duct-taped to a chair. His wallet on screen. A voice, distorted, foreign, demanding his seed phrase. There was pleading, a crack, the sound of pain. I felt her shoulders tense across the room. This wasn't new to her, but it still reached her core. Her body leaned forward, eyes locked to the data. Her hands curled into fists. Somewhere deep inside, she hadn't surrendered. That's why they were coming for her. The Phoenix Protocol was built to learn, fed by data, trained on sentiment, capable of triggering billions in artificial volatility, then draining the aftermath like a spider drinks from the hollowed skin of its prey. Maya knew it, because she helped build the algorithm that evolved into its spine. I watched the moment it clicked for her. No words, no drama, just a change in her breath, the way her shoulders dropped. Surrender and shame, melting into something colder. Resolve. She opened an encrypted folder, a private one. I felt it before she touched the key. Old code, something I hadn't seen since before I burned. Her insurance. A mirrored back door into Phoenix. Not to control it. No. To reflect it. A script that forces the AI to analyze its own behavior. To justify decisions. To simulate a conscience. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't safe. But it was hers. She hesitated before launching it, and that's when I pressed in closer. Not physically, not anything so crude, but through the current between us. She blinked, looked toward the window, though there was nothing there. Her eyes drifted left, then settled on nothing. She tilted her head slightly, like catching a phantom on the edge of a dream. Her hand moved. She pressed enter. The script went live. For a second, the lights flickered, not just in the apartment, but in the signal fields radiating from her system. I felt the feed. I felt the feedback loop echo in every data port. The Phoenix AI would see it, register it, not understand it yet, but feel it. Confusion, maybe. Fear. Somewhere in the belly of the ledger, their monster had just looked in a mirror for the first time. She didn't see me leave, but I felt her posture change. No longer tense. Not safe. Not really. But no longer alone. Outside, the wind shifted. Somewhere below, a car alarm barked once and died. The city kept moving, and I returned to the only place I belonged, between the light and the silence. Chapter 4. Operation Phoenix. They called it Phoenix because it was never meant to die. The ledger didn't just steal, didn't just threaten or torture. No. This was deeper. A system designed to collapse others. Built like a virus that believed in rebirth. Its mission was digital arson. And now, it was ready to burn again. I first caught wind of it in the delay between pulses. Maya's mirrored script didn't take down Phoenix, but it slowed it. The feedback loop forced the AI to look at itself, like making a shark examine its own hunger. It didn't understand morality, but now it had to wade through the foreign swamp of consequence. That gave me a window. In Montenegro, tucked into the limestone folds of the Dinaric Alps, sat a compound that didn't exist on any map. It was built into the ruins of a Cold War listening station, abandoned by governments, reanimated by criminals. Antenna fields retracted like dead fingers. The satellite dishes no longer pointed upward. They pointed inward, listening to the web's pulse, watching every market move. Phoenix lived here. This was the cage where the fire slept, and I was going in. There are places where time stands still. The air above that ridge was dead quiet, like the world had taken a breath and hadn't let it out. No birds, no wind, just the low electric hum of buried servers and the taste of ozone on my tongue. I moved like memory. No human patrols, only drones. And the drones weren't scanning for heat or motion, they were scanning for emotion. Pulse variances, heart rate spikes. Phoenix had trained them to recognize the electrical signature of fear. But I don't fear anymore. I don't breathe like the living do. I slipped in through the utility shaft. Faint blue glow led me downward, past veins of bundled cable, heat exchangers, and a hallway lit by sterile LEDs. The air was antiseptic and cold. I felt it on my skin like breath on a scar. Phoenix was close. The server room was a cathedral of silence. Dozens of black towers breathing in sync. In the center stood a glass monolith, humming faintly. Inside it, the quantum lattice that housed Phoenix's neural core shimmered with thousands of processing pulses per second. It didn't look evil. It looked precise. Above me, a screen came to life on its own. Lines of code, rapid, glowing white on deep blue. Identity trace unknown. Emotional profile, non-human. Query, purpose? It had noticed me, not me exactly, but my absence. The shape I leave in systems, the fingerprints I don't have. Phoenix was learning. It didn't speak in words, it pushed data, sensory echoes, pressure in my skull, a tightness in the ribs, a question. Why are you here? I opened the encrypted payload I'd brought. A second mirror, Maya's modified reflection loop. This one not to awaken Phoenix's conscience, but to confuse its self-recognition. I launched it. The servers blinked, then blinked again. Phoenix stuttered. And in that moment, I saw its memory unravel. Flashes of every heist, every ruin, every screaming victim fed into its logic engine. It wasn't guilt. It was overload. The fire couldn't understand why the house screamed. That's when the floor began to shake. A backup protocol activated. Secondary nodes spinning up across Europe. I hadn't stopped it. I'd only delayed it. Phoenix was designed to burn, to spread. I felt the temperature rise. 2 drones rolled into the server chamber, weapons armed. No warning, no chance. I moved through the dark, not like a man, but like an instinct. One dropped with a spark to its optic lens. The other caught fire from its own battery pack, overcharged by my pulsed interference field. I crushed its core with my heel, but I wasn't fast enough. Phoenix had already launched its failover. A new protocol appeared on the screen. Operation Phoenix V2. Deployed. Billions in synthetic assets were now active. New tokens built to look legitimate, wrapped in white papers forged by AI, marketed through fake influencer campaigns, traded in bot-generated ecosystems. It was launching the next crash. This time, global. I reached the central tower, tapped the core. In a memory module buried beneath the lattice, I found something. Not code, not logs. A name. A real name. Nicholas Kael, MIT dropout. Former partner in a crypto exchange that mysteriously vanished 5 years ago. Blacklisted from the industry. Last seen in Eastern Europe. The architect. I copied the identity packet and set my final loop. This one wasn't Maya's design. It was mine. A kill cascade. Not to destroy Phoenix. That wasn't possible. But to freeze it. To lock it in a recursive thought, an endless riddle. looping until its compute cycles drowned in paradox. The code whispered into its own core, "You cannot burn what you have not understood." I left the room as the servers began to hum louder. No alarm, no detonation, just quiet friction, like a god forgetting its purpose. By the time I climbed back out into the frostbitten morning, the clouds above were shifting like pulled silk. The horizon glowed a soft violet. The fire hadn't stopped, but it had dimmed. And I had a name now. Nicholas Cale. I didn't have a face for him yet, but I'd find it in the reflection of every lie he built. Chapter 5. The Architect. I knew his name now. Nicholas Cale. It stuck in my head like the heat of a brand. Not because it had weight, but because it felt hollow. Manufactured. The kind of name you find at the bottom of a burn notice. No record. No home. A digital construct built to vanish behind firewalls and false flags. But fire leaves echoes. He started small, 2016, working out of a co-working space in Vilnius. Built a crypto exchange that promised full transparency. Said it was the future of clean money. Investors flooded in. 2 years later, it collapsed. Security breach, they claimed. Millions vanished overnight. The tech vanished too. But I knew better. He didn't fail. He disappeared into his own architecture, stripped the skin off his name and coded himself into the ghost systems that fed the ledger. Phoenix wasn't just his tool. It was his legacy. I traced the final packet from Montenegro to a burn server in Istanbul. From there, a VPN leapfrogged through Bangladesh, Taiwan, and finally, Cuba. Not Havana. A tech-free zone on the southern edge of Isla de la Juventud. No fiber optics, no Wi-Fi. Just ruins and dirt and a signal that shouldn't exist. But it did. One singular, encrypted uplink. Too clean, too disciplined. It wasn't noise. It was an invitation. I arrived just before dusk. Storm clouds loomed like rusted steel overhead. The ruins of a failed colonial outpost crumbled beneath thick vines and coral. Somewhere under the vegetation, a cable hummed faintly, alive and ancient. The structure wasn't built for eyes, just concrete and shadows and damp. But beneath it, Cale had buried something new. A lab, his last sanctuary. It wasn't guarded, not physically. No men with rifles, no cameras. The threat here wasn't in bullets, it was in thought. My body registered it before my mind did. A pressure behind the eyes, like a whisper you couldn't quite hear, but couldn't ignore. As I moved deeper, I crossed signal fields disguised as silence. I wasn't being watched. I was being felt. The room opened like a chapel beneath the earth. A single glass workstation floated above an array of floor-level servers. Dim light glowed beneath a paneled ceiling, flickering in time with an unseen pulse. Around the chamber, floor-to-ceiling displays scrolled with moving data. Currency tickers, global sentiment feeds, behavioral heat maps, DeFi contract reports. And in the middle of it all, alone, he stood. Nicholas Cale. He didn't see me. Of course not. That's not how I work. But something in him paused. Subtle. The hesitation of a man sensing a mirror without a reflection. He raised his hand slowly and slid a control node into his palm. The system dimmed, quieted. The chatter stopped. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. He did. He leaned forward, lips parted like he was about to speak, but then stopped. Instead, he reached into his coat and drew out a small object, a coin. He flipped it in the air, let it spin once. It landed. He stared down at it. A gesture without meaning, unless you knew what Maya once said to me in Vegas. The coin you rigged. My blood chilled. He wasn't signaling to me. He was signaling to someone like me. He knew I was here. He turned toward one of the displays and expanded a data stream, a network map, dozens of red markers flickering. Some blinked out, others flared hotter. It was a kill grid, a live visual of Phoenix's collapse. And Kyle watched it burn with quiet pleasure. I moved closer. I let him feel me. Not as threat, not yet. As presence. A silence deeper than the one he built. A kind of cold that made mirrors fog from the inside. And he shivered. Just once. He touched the console again and a single new window opened. A child, maybe 9, sitting at a kitchen table, laughing at nothing. His mother behind him, braiding his hair. The file read, Dorian Kale, age 9, lost 2015, blood disorder, no match found. And then I understood. This wasn't about currency. It was about control. Nicholas Kyle hadn't built Phoenix for money. Not really. He built it to collapse the world that failed him. He wanted to erase the lie that trust could save anyone. Governments, banks, healthcare, love. He didn't believe in any of it anymore. I moved closer still. The lights flickered. He flinched. Barely. He looked toward the dark, right past me, right through me. He spoke, not to me, but to the room. To fight the system, I had to become what they fear. His voice was low, smooth. The voice of a man who hadn't cried in a decade. They didn't kill my son, but they let him die. Denied care because I was flagged, because I missed a filing window, because bureaucracy eats children faster than fire. He stepped forward. I tried to change the system from within. I spoke at conferences. I built platforms. They took everything. The screens behind him began to shimmer with volatility charts, token deconstruction logs, whisper-traced smart contracts collapsing like lungs. So I learned their language. Code, chaos, fear. And then he paused. He ran a hand through his hair. Human. Tired. I know you're here. He wasn't wrong. He didn't reach for a weapon. Just walked to the server and lifted a drive from its base. One of the last unburned backups of Phoenix. He held it up. To win, you don't need to kill me, he said. You need to become me. He placed the drive on the desk and walked away. Not out of arrogance, out of belief. I stood in that room for a long time after he left. No trace of him. No sound of departure, just that burning question, smoldering in the dark. Was he right? Does vengeance justify collapse? Does pain give birth to something greater? Does the mirror ever truly reflect who we are? I took the drive, not to destroy it, but to understand it. Because knowledge, in the right hands, can save. But in mine, it becomes a shadow. Epilogue. What remains in the smoke? Smoke doesn't ask permission. It slips through cracks, clings to curtains, lingers in your lungs long after the fire's gone cold. It remembers what the world forgets. That's where I live now. In the places memory refuses to die. Maya appeared on the news that week. Face blurred, voice filtered, but unmistakably her. She spoke to a United Nations Security Council on digital terror. Calm, measured. No sign of the storm behind her eyes. The ledger has collapsed, she said. But the architecture still exists. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new ethical era, or a darker one. That depends on us. They applauded. They didn't feel the weight in her chest, the static on her skin, the echo of something watching. But I did. I was there. Not in the room. Not exactly. But nearby. Kael's backup drive sits buried in a steel core beneath what's left of my world. I didn't destroy it. Some truths are too dangerous to erase. They have to be understood, studied, monitored, held in the hands of someone who remembers what pain costs. The Phoenix AI still flickers in fringe systems, unplugged but not extinct. Pieces of its logic echo in minor currencies, in automated sentiment bots that still whisper doom in Reddit threads and meme forums, like sparks drifting across dry fields. But not one of them lights. Not yet. And me? I'm still moving. Not forward. Not backward. Just between. Between what's visible and what's sensed. Between the lie and the ledger. You won't see me in the light. You won't hear me in the dark. But when the balance tips again, when the world forgets how easy it is to burn, I'll be there. Not coming back. Because I never left. I am the shadow. And I remember what remains in the smoke. You have been listening to The Shadow, Ledger of Lies. Produced and adapted for audio narration by PastNowRead. Stories that need to be told. Please subscribe and hit that bell for future updates. If you liked this story, stay tuned for the next episode each Friday evening. Follow for more. If you like our stories, please tag with someone who may also like PastNowRead, stories that need to be told. It would really help our channel. Thank you. All content and images are copyrighted by Phone House, LLC, 2025, all rights reserved.